Good morning and welcome to the Retailers and Brand stage for the second day of Tamebay Live, which is all about growth. Before I introduce Isabella, just a couple of housekeeping notes for you. Please make use of the networking areas on the Totem platform today. And there's coffee tables where you can sit down with friends and colleagues, but there are also showcases. So if you'd like to find out more about Channel Advisor, pop past the Channel Advisor showcase, and there's some downloads there. You'll be able to connect with Channel Advisor, sign their guest book, and they'll get in touch with you and speak to some of their colleagues there today. Now, Isabella has very kindly offered to do a Q&A at the end of this session. So while she's talking, if you've got any burning questions and you want to know more about how to effectively advertise on eBay and Amazon, just below the presentation screen, you'll see a little box that says ask a question or submit a question. Type your question in there, and at the end of the session, I'll put as many of those questions to Isabella to get answered as we've got time for. So don't worry, no one else will be able to see who is asking the question. So it'll come straight through to the stage here, and we'll get as many of them answered as possible. And the Totem platform will be open for an hour following the event to allow additional time for networking. So do make use of that time. And as I say, pop past the Channel Advisor showcase to find out more. Now, this is a really interesting session. We're on Growth Day, and advertising on marketplaces is actually a relatively new feature still. It certainly wasn't here 10 or 15 years ago. It's literally only a couple of years old. So delighted to have Isabella here today to talk about it. And Isabella is a product manager at Channel Advisor. And in her role, she's contributing to the kind of the go-to market strategy. She's worked over 10 digital marketing platforms and managed campaigns across 27 countries. So very, very experienced. And we've welcomed you before on Tamebay, Isabella. So once again, thank you so much for being with us today, and welcome, Isabella.
Hi, Chris, and hi, everyone. And thank you also for inviting me to my second Tamebay event. I'm so excited. I remember last year when we had the event, it was at the early beginning of the pandemic. So I'm getting used to being to this event, and let's see if there's a third year. And I'm actually a product marketing manager at Channel Advisor, transitioning to a team lead role in the digital marketing strategy team. So definitely Amazon and eBay are two channels that we advertise quite a lot on. And before we dive in, let's just talk a bit about who Channel Advisor is, in case you're logging in today and you aren't familiar with what we do. Because paid advertising and advertising on marketplaces, it's one small part of everything that Channel Advisor platform and services cover. And our platform serves as a single centralized integration point for thousands of brands and retailers around the world to automate, optimize all of their e-commerce operations, whether that's a single marketplace or dozens of marketplaces, digital marketing channels, or first-party integrations, and so on and so forth. But as I was saying, we also have services, so we're more than just a platform. As your partner in e-commerce success, we boast on the fact that our services team become an extension of your team, and they work together with leading brands and retailers every day to optimize their e-commerce efforts, expand to new channels, and boost their bottom line. And I resonate a lot with our mission to connect and optimize the world's commerce, because the past year has shown us that e-commerce basically saved the day. We were able to get what we needed in a safe manner, and companies had more options to reach their consumers wherever they were. And we have multiple offices across the globe, and this helps us to create localized strategies for our clients and provide 24/7 support. And we're privileged to work with some of the largest brands around the world in many different capacities. And we're thrilled with the response that we've seen from the industry, including being named the #1 channel management vendor to the Digital Commerce 360 top 1,000 retailers every year since 2013. So let's get to the reason why we're all here, and what can we expect from this session. We'll take a brief look at the landscape overview and like why is marketplaces advertising important? Why do we need to sell on marketplaces as well? Then we'll take a look at the common blind spots and ad spend wasters for Amazon advertising. We're going to run through the successful tips tips to successfully advertise on Amazon next. And then we're going to tackle the same thing for eBay. First, the ad spend wasters, and then the advanced tips before we jump to the Q&A. So let's start with the landscape overview. The biggest question on everyone's mind is like, are all of these newly adopted behaviors going to stick? Will these habits that we're seeing during the pandemic are going to like stay here? Are these habits that are being formed? And the short answer is absolutely yes. Will consumers go back in store? Absolutely. Will they buy more online? Yes. Consumers like shopped online in the past year out of necessity and stayed out of convenience. So let's look at more detailed data that makes me believe that these behaviors will stick. So if we look at each age group, you'll notice significant increases for the 36 plus. So the dark blue bars are consumers that said that they will shop more in May last year when we were still in lockdown. Not everything was fully open yet. The light blue ones represent August when the stores were open. So even though the consumers were able to go in store and some of them were going in store, they still fell back for buying online. Maybe they're going to continue buying certain categories. I don't know, they might be more comfortable with buying groceries or furniture without going into the store, and so on and so forth. Moving on, since the consumers are shopping online more, and they're still going to shop in store, moreover, they describe themselves as being channel agnostic, so they don't care where they're buying from as long as they're getting what they need and what they want. Going multi-channel is the best strategy to get as many consumers as possible. And according to Euromonitor, multi-channel and marketplaces formats will drive 86% of the sales growth in the next 5 years. So if you're looking at opportunities to grow your sales, multi-channel and marketplaces are a great format to do that. And consumers are spending more time on marketplaces since the COVID-19 outbreak. They research, they window shop, and they purchase from these channels. And according to Amazon, actually 68% of the Amazon consumers window shop on Amazon. So it's not just us spending more time on social media platforms, we're also definitely spending more time on marketplaces. And almost half of the top 100 retailers sell on marketplaces. And since marketplaces have become such an important part of our strategy, and Amazon and eBay are two of the top marketplaces, we're going to look today at how do we succeed with advertising? And Chris mentioned this at the beginning. 10 years ago, you didn't have this option. And chances are because all of these other marketplaces and all of these other retailers are looking at Amazon and they're seeing that, oh, they have a lot of traffic, they're succeeding with this advertising program. Chances are more and more marketplaces are going to adopt this kind of programs. So you're going to need to be ready for more than just what we're presenting today, Amazon and eBay in the future. Cool. So let's start with how you can stand out on Amazon. There are, and I think you might have all seen stats around of like millions of sellers, millions of products. And as a consumer, it's hard to maybe, like you wouldn't go through all of them. In actuality, consumers mainly stick to the first page and mostly click on the first 3 items, according to a study that we did back in January last year. So Amazon advertising becomes the best way to gain visibility for the product. And luckily, your advertising performance is still influencing the organic performance, the organic ranking of your product. So it's not yet to a Google model where you can advertise as much as you want. There would be zero influence over your SEO result. And Amazon advertising continues to grow rapidly. In Q1, they grew 77%. And in the last 12 months, they've registered over 24 billion in revenue. Facebook and Google, if you were to compare Amazon, like where do they sit in the advertising space? Facebook and Google are still leading the pack when it comes to net ad revenue worldwide. But Amazon is steadily growing. Amazon's share of digital ad revenues worldwide surged from 3.8% in 2019 to 5.2% last year. So in a few years, Amazon has cemented itself as one of the key advertising players in the advertising space. And since our budgets are on Amazon are growing, there are chances that we might have certain blind spot or common ad spend wasters. So let's have a look at some of these potential ones. Number one, your account structure is not granular or granular enough. And you have to think of your account structure as being everything because it dictates the way you invest. So the way that you structure your account might be by product type, but actually you might need to also account for bestsellers. You might need to account for seasons and so on and so forth. It also dictates the way that you bid, right? So if you automate, use any automation for your bidding, you might want to have your account segmented in such a way that you are able to apply automation maybe to some campaigns and certain strategies there and other strategies to other campaigns. It also dictates the way that you optimize. And I think this photo speaks volumes. When you have everything in like one campaign or very few campaigns, it is hard to funnel budgets according to performance goals or even to optimize. So really important takeaway here. And it's actually the first step to ensure that everything else that you're doing basically sits nicely. This is a foundation for your account. And I've assessed hundreds of accounts for a while before being a product marketing manager and currently a team lead for digital marketing. I helped our organization with assessing our potential clients' accounts. And this was something that I was always seeing. Either there was one campaign for each type or very few campaigns. So it's really important to split your account structure and become granular. The thing is, when you're becoming granular, it's hard to manage things because there is very little automation that you have available from Amazon themselves. So that is my second point, the fact that you might not be leveraging automation. As I said, the Amazon's tools are a bit more limited when it comes to automations. And as an advertiser that started I started my career in Google, where you have plenty of automation and there's always something that you can leave it to the Google AI system to do it. It is a bit of a shock to the system when you moved on Amazon advertising, where you don't necessarily have that much automation available at your fingertips. But there are plenty of solutions out there, Channel Advisor included, that can help you automate some of these key activities, such as first one, automatically adding and pausing products from campaigns. This way, you save time on creating the ad groups, you reduce time on ad spend, or you reduce the ad spend waste on low performing products. You launch products a lot easier, so you wouldn't necessarily need to go manually and do a lot of work in order to get your new products launched. The second thing that you can do when you're using automation is to automate your bidding. And this is one important tool to have when you have a highly granular account. Otherwise, you might end up investing too much, or maybe even if you're not investing at all in changing the bids, you are not going to react properly or in time to these changes. So it's really important to understand that the more granular you go in your account with your campaigns, the more you're going to likely need this automation, at least for the bidding side. One other important automation that you need to do is harvesting keywords and automating the keywords. Auto campaigns are awesome for discovering new keywords, either targeted keywords or negative keywords. But if you're only manually harvesting these keywords, then chances are you're wasting some time there. again, it is important to still check your search query reports in order to see if certain keywords might not make sense for your product. But at the end of the day, at least for harvesting new keywords, you need to automate that, because if certain keywords or targets are working really well, you want to actively be targeting them. You want to actively be bidding for them and investing in them. Cool. And the last main automation piece is campaign scheduling and dayparting. And this is actually my third common ad spend waster. And this is one useful piece of automation to when you're thinking of, I want to increase my budget, but I don't necessarily want it to have a massive impact on my ACOS. I don't want to raise my bids massively all the time. By having day parting in place and even campaign scheduling, you might even want to like pause your ads in certain times. But by implementing day parting, you're going to be able to funnel your investment in certain times. You're going to be able to manage your bidding and be more conservative in times where you know that conversions are less likely to happen, and then be more aggressive in times when you know that your conversions are more likely to happen. This is not this is not an option that you can automate if you're only using the Amazon advertising interface. A lot of manual work would go into it, but if you have very few products, if you have very few campaigns, then it might be feasible. So if you don't have a big account structure, I would recommend to maybe go and change your bids, be more aggressive at certain times when you know that conversions are more likely to happen. So I'm curious how many here today use automation and how. So feel free to use the chat to let us know. I'm genuinely curious anytime when it comes to automation and anything new. So let's move on to some advanced tips when advertising on Amazon. One strategy to look into, if you haven't so far, is to create your own Amazon store. The resources needed are not as time consuming as they were or are for your own website, and you can definitely use some of the content and visuals that you already have to create a similar look and feel for your Amazon store to your website. The alternative of not having an Amazon store is to potentially lose traffic and sales to other sellers, as you get a list of all. When someone is clicking on your brand name, you get a list of all the products rather than a carefully selected or carefully curated selection. And not only are stores a great tool to gain more control over how your brand is showcased on Amazon, but they do help improve your organic ranking for your products and sponsored brands campaigns performance. And according to Amazon, linking sponsored brands campaigns to store pages generates a better return on ad spend. And next to all of these great things that you can do by having a store, like owning more control over your brand, improving the performance of your sponsored brand campaigns, you can also use your Amazon stores to increase basket size, because you keep the consumer engaged only with your product selection and only with your brand. Another reason why driving traffic to brand stores it's super important is that Amazon has rolled out the Manage Your Consumer Engagement that allows you to market new product announcements, so any new products that you're launching, directly to your Amazon customers who follow your brand. This feature is available to registered brands that have an Amazon store page with followers. This is available in the US for Vendor Central, but according to Amazon, there are plans in place to expand soon. So this is not something that you can do right this second, but be ready for it and see what changes do you need to make to your stores in order to get this happening. And one main avenue to reach audiences on and off Amazon is Amazon's demand side platform, Amazon DSP for short. And this is a program that has been gated in the past and required really high minimum ad spends. But it's now available to access it with a lot more ease. And this is a great tool to help with growing your business, generating demand. It's also a good tool to reach your audiences that are lower in the marketing funnel through remarketing and customer targeting capabilities. And Amazon is not only opening up the DSP program to more advertisers, but is also taking some of the insights from DSPs such as Amazon Audiences and adding them to popular ad formats such as sponsored display. And this launch gives advertisers access to pre-built audiences using Amazon's first-party shopping and streaming signals. I know that for quite a few years, I was saying like, I would really want to have access to their first-party data for the audiences. And it seems that my wish came true, and now we steadily have access to this option. And the last thing that I want to mention for Amazon, it's the influence that your quality of the listings has over your paid advertising campaigns. And advertising without great product data can translate into ad spend waste. Just imagine sending your consumers to a page, or put yourselves in the consumer's shoes, landing on a listing that does not necessarily meet what you are looking for. Chances are you might leave, buy from a competitor. And moreover, by you optimizing your content, chances are you're going to reduce that cost per click, because you're going to become more relevant in Amazon's eyes. So make sure that you use your advertising insights to fill in the search terms field, for example, for your listing, and that your top performing keywords are found in the title and the bullet points, at least that. An extra tip here would be to invest time in building your A+ content, and also have a look at your imagery. What else can you add that would help the consumer take the decision maybe without scrolling down? Is it a size chart that you need to add? Is it a video that you need to add? What else can you do to make your listings more enticing and for them to match what they're seeing on and searching on the advertising side? That was all I had to say for Amazon. I'm curious to see any questions that you might have for that side. Moving on to eBay. eBay is has had its program of promoted listings for a while. Now, when we look at promoted listings, there is very little that we can automate in the eBay interface. So that is my first, let's say, blind spot or potential ad spend waster. And before I jump into that, I wanted to say that in the past, when you were looking at eBay results, you would see that very few slots at the top were given to paid advertising, like very few were sponsored. Now we can see that these slots at the top, they're covering most of the first screen, and even they're present on the product detail pages. So going back to wasting ad spend, I think wasting or what are the blind spots around eBay? The first ad spend waster is related to like discovering the best rate, and quite a lot of effort goes into it. If you're manually testing and you're comparing reporting timeframes, you're trying to understand, and it can take months really to discover the best rate that works for you. Should you choose to automate with a solution like Channel Advisor, this can be achieved in a matter of weeks. And you need to make sure that you're continuously testing and optimizing for the best rate. It shouldn't stop there. Chances are that if you're not maybe increasing your rate, you're not as competitive anymore. If you're not decreasing your rate, you might end up paying more than you should. One other time-consuming activity is to add and remove items from the campaigns. When you decide what products to add and what products to remove, you have a certain criteria or a certain logic in mind. This means that it can be automated. You need to automate this activity just because, think of it this way, it might take you time to realize that a certain item is no longer viable. That means that in that time, you might have paid for it and it didn't make sense for you to do so. So by automating this, you're gonna be able to save time and potentially add spend waste. The third blind spot that I have for you today, or maybe it's a potential to improve your ad spend efficiency, It's related also to the product data. You cannot look at just advertising. Chances are you're just going to throw money out the window if the quality of your product data is not according to eBay standards. Item specific are a big thing on eBay, and the overall quality of them is going to influence your visibility. So ensure that this is taken care of for all of the products that you choose to advertise, and that you're improving them for all of your catalog in general. Cool. So let's see the main advanced tip that I have for you to advertise on eBay. And I see that there are some questions already coming in. Looking forward to dive into them. You might be familiar with the classic eBay promoted listing campaigns. These campaigns, you used to set a rate, and then if a sale happened, you paid that certain rate for it. Now eBay are introducing promoted listings advanced campaigns, and this is a eBay beta program, and it is available via Channel Advisor soon. What we're going to do is we're going to take all the important automation that we have, all the capabilities that we have, and we're going to apply them to this new campaign type. And these campaigns are, as I said, they're going to use the CPC model. And if you're advertising on Amazon, you can take advantage of your Amazon structure and launch with ease on eBay. So save a bit of time there. And should you choose to go and use this program, I have two main recommendations. First one, keep your classic product listings campaigns active. We haven't heard evidence that by running both, your rate should go up. Again, this is like really early on. And do not dilute your budget. Don't take part of your promoted listings campaigns budget and add them to this new ad type. Try to allocate a separate budget for this new campaign type. Cool. Now, let's move on to the final piece that I have. I think we're pretty ahead of time, so there is plenty of time for questions at the end. What are the key takeaways for today? So the first one that I could say is that COVID has definitely had a significant disruption in retail. And I remember last year at the eBay event, I had this meme that was going around, like, who changed your digitization plans? Was it the CTO, was it the COO, or was it COVID-19? So it has definitely had a significant impact, and it has accelerated our plans to digitize. New habits will become permanent for a sizable percentage of consumers, maybe for certain consumers only for certain categories, maybe for some consumers overall, but this is definitely a new normal, and we're gonna shop online more, even though we are gonna be able to go in stores. And with more channels to manage, I was hinting at the fact that Amazon and eBay are not the only marketplaces out there with their own advertising programs, and are likely to become just two of the many programs that are going to do that, platforms that are going to do that. Try to invest in automation. Investing in automation might be cheaper and more efficient than hiring more people, or just not automating at all. And in time, you're going to waste so much ad spend that it would have made sense to invest in automation. And the last point is that product data quality is a huge influencer on advertising performance. And I cannot stress this enough. If you want to be efficient with your paid advertising, it needs to be a partnership of both. Your product data quality needs to be at a certain standard, and your advertising campaigns need to be optimized to be effective. So they go together. They're in no sense something separate that have no influence over each other. With this, thank you very much for listening to me so far. Chris, I'm gonna hand it over to you now, and I'm gonna take a quick look at some of the questions that I've seen coming in.
Thank you so much for that, Isabella. That was truly interesting. And we've got one question that I just want to address straight away, which is, how do you optimize for eBay without an expense at all? And they said it seems like every problem requires channel advisors to solve it. But I want to expand on that question. You've explained that advertising without automation at all and doing it manually is going to be very time intensive, and you're never going to be able to do things like day parting without having a tool. But what I'm really interested in is, what strategy should I use for working with a tool, whether it be Channel Advisor or another one? Should I start off setting the automation rules myself and getting to know advertising, and then maybe go for services where I can get some real experts to tweak it for me? Or should I start with services and just let someone else manage it all? And if I start with services, will I ever migrate back to saving some money and managing it myself? It is expensive using services, but obviously if the results come, then it's justified. But I'm really interested on the kind of, when do I use a tool and when do I try and manage that automation myself? Or does it depend on the size of the business? When do I want a specialist to actually do the services for me?
Definitely. And thank you for the question, Chris, and thank you to the audience as well for the question. I think it all boils down to, how big is my catalog? So how many products am I selling and I'm planning to also advertise? And it's also related to, how much advertising budget do I have? Because sometimes your advertising budget might be, I don't know, £500 per month or £1,000 per month to trial it out. Paying someone to manage that for you, so some services, might actually not make sense in the beginning, right? So it all depends on, what are your goals? Do you want to do like full-blown campaigns, or do you want to test it out, see how it works for you? Plus, when it comes to testing it out or starting off, it's always good to start with the automated campaigns. That is where your product data is key, right? So by just doing auto campaigns and understanding with a small budget what is picking up, what is actually coming in from the campaigns, you wouldn't necessarily need to invest in automation. When you do need to invest in automation, and there are plenty of tools out there, and I said including Channel Advisor. For example, our advertising modules for these two marketplaces, that they come, if you're coming on board just self-service, they come at no extra cost. They're included in the Channel Advisor marketplaces interface, right? So we don't charge extra to our clients to use those tools. Going back to my idea, is that the more granular your campaigns become, the more budget you invest, chances are that you're wasting ad spend. You're not going to be able to day part. You're not going to be able to change the bids at the frequency that you actually need to do it by doing it manually. If you have a small structure of the campaigns, and you have, I know, a manageable product catalog of, I don't know, 10 SKUs or anything like that, you might not need to, but still you're going to invest some time in tasks that could easily be automated. So I hope that answered your question, Chris.
Yeah, and I think everyone is so used to automation nowadays, whether it be producing shipping labels in the warehouse, or we were speaking to OptiSeller yesterday to automate your item specifics, which is something you touched on earlier. We're used to automation. And I think the real question is, shouldn't be, do I need to use Channel Advisor? And actually, if I'm already using Channel Advisor, it's free included. But when does it make sense for me to get some help with that setting up that automation and managing it? We've got another interesting question, kind of along the same lines, which is, should day parting be done on a product by product basis? And I'm guessing, if you've only got 3 products, the answer is probably yes. But what if I've got 1,000 products? Should I be going down to a granular product level, or should I be looking at category or subcategory level?
So this is tightly connected to my first point around your account structure, your campaign structure. Because when you're looking at how am I splitting my campaigns, it's by goals. Is it by, you might do it by product type, right? You might do it, if your account is structured by your campaigns are structured by actual products, then it makes sense to do so. And dayparting is a great tool to invest, or be more aggressive with your budget and bids at times that you know that certain products convert, and then when other products convert. So it's all connected to your account structure at the end of the day. If you want to do it by products, because you have, let's think of it this way, you have you in your catalog you sell two different products, like more or less the performance would be so different for them that you're going to need to like split them in their own campaigns and do their own day parting, because some of them might sell more in the morning and other might sell more in the evening. So it all boils down to your goals and making sure that your account structure enables you to do that day parting. But if needed, yes, I would recommend to, like, if it's needed in that sense. Chances are that there are similarities, and like it's more like per product type, and then you can put more products within like the same campaign if there aren't any differences by size, by color, or anything massive between them. I hope that answered the question. There is just a lot to say here, and I'm trying to like keep it as short as I can.
We've got some fascinating questions coming in, and this one that I didn't even think a question about Amazon Alexa would come up. And with voice ordering, you can actually buy stuff on Amazon Alexa. And someone's saying, how can our ad strategy incorporate voice commerce on the Amazon, the Echo's range of devices? And this is really interesting because I've done things like I've ordered batteries using voice on the Amazon Echo before. Whose batteries do I end up buying? Can my ad strategy make sure it's my batteries that people are buying?
I mean, this is one area that it's interesting. I am yet to order something over voiceover, and I actually need to put mine on mute before I say its name because it's right next to me. We have about 3 of these devices in the house, so yes, I'm yet to buy any batteries or anything off of Alexa.
I'd just say from experience, it really helps if you're reordering something you've purchased before rather than trying to buy something for the first time.
Exactly, right. So you're definitely going to reach probably more some of your existing consumers rather than new consumers. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to optimizing your campaigns. I would have to maybe take this one after it and see like what other strategies do the team implement in order to make sure that we are reaching consumers over voiceover. But I do know that the slots that appear on it, they're quite dependent on the typical things that you would see for SERP. So for the search engine results page.
I've also noticed a lot of times the product you get offered is the one that's got the Amazon choice flag against it if you're looking online.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really interesting area for the future. Now, I've got a question. As a brand, we're thinking about using marketplaces to sell old or return stock. Would you suggest doing this separately to our Amazon store? And they're concerned about how their brand is seen. And I think this is coming into the whole question of refurbished, which is massive now. Both on eBay have got their certified refurbished. Amazon have got the Amazon warehouse. Does it damage a brand to have their products sold as old or returned? And by old, I don't think they mean sort of necessarily secondhand, but maybe aged stock, last season stock, or maybe dusty box stock.
Yeah, and we do have clients that that sell this kind of stock, and we've seen that eBay is particularly successful when it comes to refurbished goods. On Amazon, I mean, it's all about the user's intent, right? If I'm searching for your brand and I want to buy a refurbished product that is at a lower cost and I'm able to buy it from you, I'm just going to trust and buy it off of you and maybe have a better experience than buying a refurbished good of your brand from like some seller that you don't control. You have no control over that experience for the consumer. So I think, or age stock, right? It's a great tool to put your products in front of consumers that are maybe interested in those products. Again, I don't know if I would push that with advertising when you have new season stock that you might want to push more and drive more sales there. But definitely, I mean, when it comes to refurbished stock, I would say just go for it. You have more control over it, and consumers some consumers are actively searching for that. So why not give them a good experience with your brand, rather than I mean, at the end of the day, if they're searching for your brand and a refurbished stock, like, why not be there?
And
It's the consumer intent, right?
I've got a follow-up on this as well, because I've seen quite a few brands who have a brand store on the marketplace and then they have a brand outlet on the marketplace, and the outlet is often distressed or out of season or refurbished stock, whereas the brand store is for the new in-season stock.
Yeah.
How do I handle my advertising so that I'm not competing against myself between my two stores? What strategies can I use there?
I mean, it all depends what you want, right? Do I want to get rid of this stock, or do I want to sell my new full price stock, or
Both.
both, right? So you might end up not competing with yourself by targeting different like keywords, right? I know that if it's a refurbished, I don't know, vacuum cleaner, I really want to push my outlet product. If it's simply like my brand name, vacuum cleaner, whatever else features, I do want to show with my new product. So it's all about like, how am I setting up this targeting component? And maybe you might just want to keep like anything that contains refurbished in like your search, then only show these products and only compete with those products, and not advertise with your refurbished products for like the general terms, if it makes sense. But yes, you've brought a really good point with the outlet and the store.
And while we're talking on that, should I be bidding on my own brand name as a term? And is it naughty to bid on my competitor's brand name?
Actually, this is a common thing, right? And just open up a page on Amazon. If you're not advertising, search for your brand. Chances are when you're searching the first time, or maybe even the second time, you're going to start seeing like some competitors advertising on your brand term. Especially the more known you are, the more competitors are going to bid on your listings. Now, by you bidding on your own brand term, you ensure that you're visible further up, rather until like someone scrolls and goes to the organic listings, because we do know that consumers tend to mainly click on the first 3 items, and those 3 items are advertising slots. So by you bidding on your own brand terms, you're ensuring that you're getting your audience to yourself rather than competition winning them over. And typically these are like lower costs than what a competitor would pay to bid on your branded terms. Now, in terms of bidding on your competitors' terms, this is, I wouldn't call it naughty. It's quite a common practice, but it all depends on your budget. Because if you're gonna, if you have a small budget and then you overextend yourself to reach those competitors, chances are you're gonna dilute and waste that ad spend. But this is bidding on your competitors' terms. What we tend to see is that sponsored brand campaigns, for example, on Amazon work really well. They're a lot more visual. They're at the top. You send your consumers to your brand store where they find the selection. So that type of ad tends to work really well. And you can also be naughty and target with some of your best rating products and products that you know that have a better price, and just bid against your competitors. So the consumer sees, oh, they have more ratings, they have a better price, let me buy this product. Or on the product detail page, while the consumer is reading about the competitor's product, you can actually bid to get on that page.
I think that's a really important point you just made there, that it's not just about how much money you throw at advertising, but it is having a great product with having the reviews and having the full detail. So you can't just promote a rubbish listing. It's got to be
you're just going to waste money, really.
So another interesting question is, do you see different strategies depending on geography? So for instance, if we're in the UK today and I tweak all my advertising, can I just migrate the same rules to the US, for example?
So what we tend to see is that the US is a bit ahead of us because they have more competition. they have higher budgets than in the UK, especially when it comes to marketplaces advertising. And what we tend to see happening as a trend in the US, like 6 months, 1 year down the line, it happens in the UK. Now, if you're advertising in the UK and you want to expand to the US and advertise in the US, I would actually recommend that first of all, you take a look at like your account structure. If it makes sense, keep it. But then when it comes to automation, try to think differently, especially around bidding. Bids are a lot different. They're for certain products, they can be even double compared to what they are here, right? So make sure that your bid, you're not going ahead with such a low bid, or I don't know, your automation doesn't necessarily make sense. You might set some rules of, if my conversion rate is this, or if my A cost is that, then do this. And then you never meet it, and you're just suppressing your campaigns, and your advertising is never going to work. So be prepared to invest a bit more. Just a wider geography than the UK, a lot more competitive. And like Amazon there is 50% of e-commerce. So it's
But
it's about,
talking,
yeah.
talking Amazon's 50% of e-commerce, that brings me back to something you talked about with the COVID and the change of how people have been shopping. How do you decide whether to spend on Google or on eBay and Amazon? And obviously, the more people shopping on marketplaces, probably the more advertising I want to do there. But I don't want to miss out on Google. How do I find that balance?
And if you look at these platforms, they're like racing to cover the full funnel, right? Amazon with Amazon DSP and all of these options, they used to be seen as a bottom of the funnel. Now they're moving further up in the funnel. You look at YouTube, right? Google's tool, they're trying to move lower down the funnel. So in the past, you used to say, "Oh, I build brand awareness with social media. I then make sure that they convert on Google and on Amazon with investing advertising there." It's not necessarily the case anymore, because you can do all of your full funnel advertising on just like one channel, if it makes sense right now. And we do know that the consumers are channel agnostic, so they don't care at the end of the day if I'm buying off of Amazon, if I'm buying off a Google shopping listing, or if I'm buying through a Facebook shop, or wherever it is that I'm buying. I won't care about it as long as I get what I want, and like to the best price, availability, like all these things that matter. So when you are calculating your budget, it's really good to look at the revenue that you have, and take a percentage of that revenue and reinvest it in advertising, so you keep the ball rolling, basically. So you no longer need to look at the channels as they're fitting this mold or that mold, and then I invest according to my strategy. You can do all the strategies on the same channel. I hope it answered your question. Things have definitely changed, and it's a good question.
And then this question is probably a quick yes or no. Do Amazon sellers get preferential advertising rates on Amazon advertising?
I'm afraid I don't necessarily understand.
If I sell on Amazon, do I get a better rate for advertising than if I don't sell on Amazon?
I think this is connected to DSP, to the Amazon demand side platform that I presented, because in order to advertise on Amazon with sponsored products, sponsored brands, sponsored display, as far as I know, you need to be an Amazon seller. When it comes to being an Amazon seller, it's not necessarily that you get the best rates. You gain access to more targeting options compared to if you're on Amazon DSP just with your website.
And talking of DSP, DSP is obviously off Amazon adverts driving traffic to Amazon. So really interesting question. Can ads on Amazon or eBay direct traffic off the marketplace?
As far as I know, on Amazon DSP, and I'm fairly new to Amazon DSP, we have people in the team that are a bit more in the know than me. On Amazon DSP, you can potentially like promote your own website. On eBay, honestly, I don't know, and I don't think so.
Okay. And we're coming right up against the time for this session, but one question that I really like is, what should I prepare before I start to advertise? So very quickly, before I get going, what's the one thing I need to do?
Have a look at your performance so far, understand what products you want to advertise, set a budget for them, and get it started already, because you're missing out on visibility. really shortly.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to make you out of time.
No
But
worries.
Isabella, I want to thank you so much for your help and insights today, not just for the presentation, but for the insights with the questions as well. And as I said, if anyone wants to find out more about Channel Advisor, please do drop past their showcase. That we've got a 15-minute networking break, so drop straight over to their showcase to find out more. Whether you've just got questions on advertising, or if you want to find out more about Channel Advisor's product and also the services they can offer to assist you. Make use of the network areas, go and find some friends, and come back on this retailers and brand stage again at 11:05 when eBay will be taking the stage to talk about the death of the cookie and how advertising can impact that. So have a great day, and once again, thank you so much for your time today, Isabella.
Thank you.